7:07 hour number one of the 2-hour Bruce and Dan show. I'm Jake Hartford.
And I'm John Cass, and we're here to talk to you.
First of all, John, how did the soccer team do yesterday at Toyota Park, is it called?
Yes, I'm shocked and awed that you'd ask, because I know you love the sport.
I care about your kids, because being a father myself...
You've gone through this.
I've gone through it, with hockey, so I can see where...
So we were crazed out there at Toyota Park in the Pepsi Challenge, which is the premier soccer tournament in Illinois. The Lyons Township Soccer Club, coached by Paul Abato, won 1-0, defeated a great Morton team that hasn't lost in about 26 games. It was a great game.
Sounds like it was a...
and good grilling
full of excitement.
And a lot of grilling.
Wide for some soccer!
And I grilled thinking of you. There were great shish kebabs, souvlaika, and some pepper treats that I know your family members want you to make.
I seem to remember, and I think we have tape to will confirm it, that you're going to bring some of those pepper treats in Monday morning.
Yeah, but you know what? All the soccer parents ate them all. I can't help it. They were so good, so I'll have to do that another time.
All right, let's get down to business. There's a lot of stuff we're going to cover. One of the most interesting stories I saw over the weekend, it was buried. The New York state government had a study done about cigarette smoking and the people of the state of New York, the residents, and they found out that family incomes of $30,000 a year or less spent an average of 23.6% of their earnings on cigarettes. That astounds me.
That's because the poor are addicted to government and nicotine. That's why you keep them.
But that's almost a quarter of their earnings up in smoke, so to speak.
Yeah, that is really...
Compared to, they say, people that make $60,000 or more, their income only loses about 2.2%.
Now, that means wealthy people who make $60,000 or more and smoke.
Yeah.
Right?
They're spending 2.2% of their income on cigarettes. So they can afford the taxes.
I think that anytime you raise taxes on cigarettes or liquor, you're really hurting people that don't have
a lot of money
to go to Las Vegas or to, go to skiing in Switzerland.
However,
why don't you put a tax on that?
Yes.
Put a tax on driving to Marco Island.
Except, John, the reason they say they put the taxes in, it's not for the revenue. They say they when they increase taxes on things like smoking, it helps people to quit smoking because people don't have the money, unless, of course, you're poor, in which case, I guess they'd spend, up to 100% of their income on smoke if they had to.
Right. What should they spend it on then? You know what I mean? On
food?
What? Lobster?
Clothes for their kids? No, food, clothes for their kids, stuff like that. Rent.
You know what? The one thing that these regressive daddy, nanny, mommy state policies don't think about is that in the neighborhoods there are people who are selling cigarettes now for 50 cents or a couple cigarettes they used to sell for a quarter or 50 cents, and that'll continue. The more they put, the mayor, the Raumfather wants to put increased cigarette taxes, doesn't he? I think we had a story last week saying that another $300 million hole in the budget. Let's raise the cigarette taxes. So you'll see more people selling cigarettes for a quarter or something out on the street.
All right, here's what I don't understand. Well, two things. Number one, when I saw this, first thing I thought of was there's going to be a federal program to help poor people. To help people get cigarettes so they don't spend 23.6% of their income on cigarettes. Right. That's number one. That's the first thing I thought of. But then I was also thinking about the tax issue. The Costco by me, on more than one occasion, quite a few occasions, my wife is in shopping and I'm outside just, listening to WS radio. And I've noticed guys show up in vans.
Right.
And they're loading the vans with cigarettes. They come out. So one guy comes out. He's got the big, flatbed roller, and it's just loaded with boxes and boxes. Not just cartons of 10 cigarettes, but boxes of cigarettes.
Right, boxes of cartons.
And they fill up. And I assume they're buying it whatever Costco sells it for. They pay the tax whatever Costco sells it for, and I'm assuming unless this person buying these cigarettes has a real big chain smoking habit, they're not all for him. I'm guessing he's reselling them somewhere.
So why would you spend retail to sell?
Is it because Costco gets him a better price than he would pay from a wholesaler? Number one,
or a
number
better
two,
price from like a guy who just stole them from a truck?
Yeah, and number two, he pays the tax to Costco. Now, if he's got a little grocery store or a little gas station and he's reselling these things, you think he's paying the state tax
Again? Isn't it marked not for resale?
I don't know. Do you think he's collecting the tax when he sells it, though? Someone comes into his little store and he sells a pack of cigarettes. You think he's saying, well, it's so much and that I have to charge a tax.
And that's why politicians they know what it is, but they still keep doing it. Anytime you raise taxes like this, it just creates more of an underground economy where people will avoid the tax.
I know people in the old days used to go to Indiana to buy cigarettes, bring them back, and resell them. And they get caught because if the revenue people came in, they would see the tax stamp from Indiana, not the Illinois. But if this guy's buying them from Costco, there's an Illinois tax stamp on it, so they're going to look.
And what does that guy do with the van? He pulls up into a alley.
Pulls right into the front door.
Pulls into an alley and goes, "Hey,
Well, yeah, if he's selling them,
guys,
yeah. I'm just curious, but in New York, 23% of people making $30,000 or less, 23% of their income goes to buy cigarettes.
And all those taxes don't go to help them quit. Okay? Because it's like gambling, like casino gambling. The state wants you to keep smoking, so they'll squeeze money out of you. The state wants you to gamble, so they get money from you.
And then they treat you like crap. I don't smoke. I've never smoked. I never even had one cigarette in my life. But the people that do smoke, they're paying so much in taxes, and yet look how they're treated. Can't smoke inside, can't smoke outside in parks in New York. You can't even, some places you can't even smoke in your own condo.
And I go back and forth on this. I got to stop.
We're going to take your calls, 591-8900. It's 9:15, time for traffic right here in 89 WLS.
89 WLS, traffic and weather.
9:16, Jake Hart for John Cass back in for Bruce and Dan. Let's go to the phones, John. David in Chicago, good morning, sir. Welcome to 89 WLS.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I got a quick question. When the politicians, they say they're making, whatever, $10 million, $100 million from these taxes, and then they're saying that they are going to make people stop smoking, is that money before or after people stop smoking?
I don't understand your question.
They're saying that they're going to get X amount of revenue, and there's X amount of people that are smoking, and they're saying that the taxes are going to make people stop smoking. So is the revenue that they're getting after the people stop smoking or before the people stop smoking?
Well,
the amount of people are going to be less.
Well, you would think, but there are people that have quit smoking, but there are people that still smoke and they're paying the higher taxes. And what usually happens when you need more money from taxes, you increase it, like Illinois just did. What is it? What did they put a pack tax on within the last couple months?
I think there was, but they're also going to do it pretty soon, I believe, right? Also,
they should put a tax on maybe a $200 tax on those $300 tennis shoes, the LeBron James shoes. That would stop parents from having to buy them.
Right. So I guess let me clarify. It's just saying that if they say that they're going to make X amount of money because they've raised the taxes, and there's 100 people that are smoking, let's say. So if they're going to be less people smoking because of the tax, so is that estimate of the amount of tax revenue that they're getting, is that before the people stop smoking or after the people?
Before.
Yeah, and it's not a precise science because I think they estimate what the effect's going to be, and it could be what they thought, could be less, could be more. Thanks, David.
And what they want is see, look, I go back and forth. I fall off the wagon, I quit, I gain 50 pounds, I quit again. What they want is addicts. Gambling addicts, smoking addicts, liquor addicts, okay? And you get enough of us, and then you start squeezing us for money. That's what it's about. It's not about let's have them quit, let's have them stop drinking, let's have them stop. Let's raise gambling taxes to get them to stop gambling.
Now,
that's not what it's about. It's about squeezing people.
Now, let me give you a good example with the Illinois Tollway. When they raised all the toll rates to do with the construction, et cetera, they predicted they would lose X amount of business by raising the rates. Whatever. It turns out, from what I read, that didn't happen. There are people who they thought would no longer use the tollway didn't drop off the system. They're still using the tollway. Now, whether that's going to change and they're going to maybe lower the rates a bit, or not, I doubt it. But that's an imprecise science.
Right.
Sandy and Palatine. Hey, Sandy, you're on 89 WLS.
Hi, you guys are fantastic. I just want to also say this has nothing to do with cigarettes, but, I do work at a Jewel, too. And I'll see people come into various establishments, even Walmarts. Okay, they maybe have 7-Elevens, or we have a lot of little stores around here, grocers. And they will load up their baskets, say they're having a deal on sodas or something, or toilet paper or whatever, anything they can resell or water. And, they load their trucks up, so that they're reselling them at their establishments or someplace else. And then we have a lot of restaurants that people come in, and I work in the liquor department, and they will buy tons of wine and something and resell and sell it in their restaurant.
Ooh, I don't think that's legal.
Okay, but I'm telling you, I know I see what they do, sir. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize for telling WLS listeners what you see, because you see it.
I do, and I'll say
we love it.
Oh, come on, this guy is not going to have this much soda in his house.
Hey, you know what, Sandy? I worked for my dad, as many of you know, had a store, a supermarket. And I grew up in the family supermarket. And guys would show up, like we'd have cereal, like, Cocoa Pebbles or something on cereal. And guys would show up with their vans and get, 50, 100 boxes of Cocoa Pebbles. Where are they selling them? Do you think they're eating those Cocoa Pebbles?
I think they were buying them for the prize
Krispies.
inside.
Those are Lucky Charms. What? That's the Lucky Charms. That used to be City Hall's favorite cereal.
Why?
They're magically delicious. It's just a little leprechaun thing.
That's John Cass. I'm Jay Cartford, in for Bruce and Dan. It's 9:21. Back after this.
89 WLS.
Coming up to 9:28, Bruce and Dan Show. Jay Cartford, John Cass, in for them.
Why don't we take some calls?
Yeah, Bob in Chicago. Hey, Bob, you're on 89 WLS.
Hey, good morning. I'm a retired fireman, and we had a firehouse at 69th in Indiana. And what sparked my attention was last week when all those teachers were calling in that these kids come to school with no breakfast or lunch. And I know why. Because these people come in with their link cards and their food stamps to a grocery store right there, which we've reported twice. I was going there for a package of cigarettes, and the guy has all the barcodes on a plastic sheet, so they can buy their bottles of booze and all their cigarettes. And he goes and scans the barcode for cereal and butter and eggs and cheese and stuff like that. And that's why these poor kids are not eating, because the parents are spending money on and we reported this guy. Nothing was done with him.
Well, you got to call me at the Tribune, and would you, buddy? Have you guys at the firehouse call me at 222-3400, and I'll check it out. Okay. But that's the Department of Revenue, and I know the guy who runs it, Ronnie Colicchio, used to carry a little pistol in his back. We used to call him Little Pistol. But that's another story.
That's
Little Pistol.
Vince in a car. Vince, you got 30 seconds. You're on 89 WLS.
I believe that tax used to control people's behavior is the most hideous tax of them all, and a direct attack on freedom itself.
Exactly, Vince.
Thank you, Vince. That's what they do.
But that's interesting, huh? You get the barcodes. That'll be. I'd like to find out more
I've been in small little places where they've had the barcodes on a piece of paper. I couldn't figure out why they were doing that.
If the caller's right, that's how it works. Interesting.
That's John Cass. I'm Jay Cartford. We have more to come, a lot of stuff. And, you talk about regulations killing business. We have a very good example of it later on we're going to tell you about. And Jesse Jr.'s house is now off the public market, and they're not saying whether he's going to run for re-election or not, even though he is ballot. And the election day is, 44 days away?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. Trouble. And Lucy still makes $20 million a year for CBS. So can't all be wrong in the world.
She's making pretzels.
9:30, back after this.
David Stewart, 89 WLS News.
Breaking news around the clock. One station making history every day. Chicago's talk leader, 89 WLS.
9:37, Jay Cartford, John Cass, in for Bruce and Dan. We're going to get back to more stuff, more of your calls, a lot of stuff between now and 11 o'clock. But before we go on, Drew Hayes, who is the Operation Czar, as I like to call him, of the station, has a statement to read.
I'll answer to that. A lot of folks have been wondering about the absence of Don and Roma, and the fact that Bruce and Dan are doing a good job in holding down the fort for them, and you guys are doing a good job in for Bruce and Dan has made it a little easier. But I'm sad to announce that Don Wade had a seizure while traveling last week. After a series of tests, doctors discovered a growth on his brain. He's going to have surgery this week to remove the growth. The recovery from surgery is going to keep Don and, of course, Roma off the air for at least 4 weeks. They remain positive and optimistic, and, of course, those of us at Cumulus and, of course, WLS, and some of us who have worked with them for more than 20 years send nothing but the best wishes and prayers. We know that a lot of people are going to want to send well wishes to Don and to Roma, and if you go to our website, there'll be a link to do that. That's WLSAM.com, so you can go to WLSAM.com. We also have set up a Gmail so that you can send well wishes to them, and that is getwelldon@gmail.com. All one word, getwelldon@gmail.com. We'll ask you guys to, hold on for the duration while we're waiting Don to come back and keep the family together.
Well, I'm a big fan, as many people are who listen to Don and Rome in the morning, and I know that many of the listeners who are out there now are concerned about him, and will send in their best wishes for his speedy recovery.
And everybody, as optimistic as those guys are, we all need to be that. And,
exactly.
Keep a good thought, say a prayer, and, we'll keep everyone posted on how this goes, and you can check the website. And, of course, you listen to WLS, and this is the place, and we'll keep people posted. So, guys, a little difficult now to ask you to carry on, but let's do what Don would do and make a little trouble on the radio, okay?
Kind of feel like Casey Kasem. Remember the dog?
Yeah, how do you go after that?
Yeah,
but here's the thing. Just do what Don does.
Put on a radio show.
And save every dime you ever made.
That too?
That's right.
9:40. Thank you, Drew. We'll keep a good thought for him. We're gonna take a couple more calls on the cigarettes and the taxes. Good morning, Dan from Aurora. You're on 89 WLS.
Good morning. How you doing?
Okay. What's your take on the cigarette and the taxes?
Well, I thought I'd share this with you. The state of Illinois has 3 separate stamping areas. One stamp is just for the state of Illinois tax, and then as you come into Cook County, that's an additional tax, that's a different stamp. And then as you go into the city of Chicago, there's an additional tax again, and that's the city of Chicago tax. And what these guys do, and have been doing for 30 years, they go out into the suburbs. If they got a business in Chicago, especially in a bad neighborhood where they're not getting checked too often, and they buy all their cigarettes with nothing but the state tax on them, and I'm sure they're saving like $2 or $3 or more a carton, and then they take them into the city and they sell them.
And they sell them for what, at a discount that they normally would? Or do they sell them for what they should be charging if they were charging tax and just put that money in their pocket?
They sell them, they sell them at a slight discount. People are as on edge about the cost of cigarettes and have been for over 30 years. They'll travel down the street and buy cigarettes there because they're a nickel a pack or something cheaper. And so they sell them at a slight discount so that they get a majority of the business from the area, and then they don't pay the taxes.
Wow. Well, that would explain what I see at my local Costco when I see guys coming out of there with 100 cases of cigarettes.
And it keeps people from going to Indiana or getting into a car and going.
Right. Well, it's easy to determine the difference between an Illinois stamp and an Indiana stamp, but when you look at the stamps themselves, it's a little more difficult to tell the difference between an Illinois stamp an Illinois stamp in Cook County or an Illinois stamp in Chicago. So,
but there should be, if it's in Chicago, there should be 3 different stamps.
No, it's one stamp.
Oh, okay. So it's one stamp, but it looks very similar to if it was just an Illinois stamp.
Correct.
Why is that? Do you know? I mean, why is it so similar? Shouldn't it be different? Shouldn't it look different so you could look at it so an inspector can see?
It looks a little bit different, but it's just like the Chicago stamp, as I recall, was an Illinois stamp with a little bit of an addition, maybe a little bit extra color on it, but it's all the same thing. The stamps come on rolls like piano rolls.
Right.
And there's like 30,000 stamps on a roll.
Wow.
That's another business.
Thanks, Dan.
Getting those stamps.
Hey, I got one more thing.
Yes?
I had a thought just this morning about the teacher thing. And they're talking, they only want to test the students and see how they're doing. I really think they ought to have a test for the teachers and see if they know what they're doing.
I'm sure they do.
The teachers?
I'm sure they do. Hector in St. Charles, you got 40 seconds.
Oh, I'll make it good. I think they should definitely raise the cigarette taxes. I think they should raise the tolls. I think they should triple the tax on liquor. Property taxes in Illinois definitely need to go up. Anything we can do to finish chasing the rest of the people out of Illinois that we have here would be a good thing. Maybe after we do that, we can start rebuilding the place. That's just the way it is. These people are ridiculous. So.
And Mike Madigan then would control? There wouldn't be anyone here for him to rule?
Yeah, that's right.
Princess Lisa wouldn't have any job.
That's right. Let's just finish it off. Let's raise the property taxes. And that's just the way it is. These people are crazy with their taxes, and everybody keeps putting up with it, and they're going to do that until it's so ridiculous that they have no choice but to leave.
Thank you, Hector.
And we're just paying our fair share, right?
They used to nickel and dime you. Now they dower and $5 you.
And clubbing the back of the head.
9:44. John Cass, Jake Hartford. Back after this.
89 WALS.
Jake Hartford, John Cass, in for Bruce and Dan.
We're talking about taxes and cigarettes and how the government directs people's behavior.
Sean in Elmwood Park. Hey, Sean.
Good morning, boys. Thank you so much for taking my call. My question is, I'm not so outraged at the capitalist who goes out and buys cigarettes at Costco. I understand that it's not right, but I'm very frustrated at the fact that we're all taking the side of the government that makes 3 times the profit than the tobacco company, which, by the way, happens to have all the liability. So they make all the money, then they demonize the people that go ahead and make the money, that will circumvent and make the money. Why is Indiana less than Illinois? Why don't we have a set standard among everybody? We all agree. This way you disincentivize people from doing that. Illinois only does that because they squander money. For instance, last week they wanted to charge everybody $5 for a cop, and this week Rahm Emanuel wants to give free internet to Millennium Park. Well, let's hold off on the internet, put the cops on the street, and stop the killing of honor roll students. What do you say we focus on that? The angry elf can only divert attention. He doesn't want anybody to look at how they're squandering the money. I find that to be very upsetting.
Thank you, Sean. Free internet, what is that going to cost?
Because it's free.
But it's got to cost something, doesn't it?
When the government does something free, like free healthcare, free internet, isn't that cool?
But don't they pay somebody to get the Wi-Fi?
And what are the...
Because it's not free at O'Hare, is it? I think at O'Hare, if you don't have something in your laptop where you're with your own carrier, I think you have to pay at the airport.
Anytime the government offers free stuff, I think of How to Catch Wild Pigs.
Speaking of carriers, my cell phone company, I called my cell phone company Friday afternoon. Okay,
complaining
about it. I had a question. I get a call 2:15 Saturday morning. I'm sleeping.
2:15 a.m.
A.m. And I answered the phone. There's nobody there. They called again while I was on the air, 6:30 in the morning. No message. They called yesterday morning. I answered the phone. Nobody there. So I finally call them back. I said, "Why are you calling me?" They said, "Well, it was probably one of our customer service people asking what your service was like, your experience when you called Friday." And I said, "Where are these people that make these calls?" Because they called me at 2:15 in the morning. I'm in Chicago.
Right.
And this woman said, "Well, I think they're offshore somewhere."
Right, in Indonesia where they're attacking embassies.
Well, yeah, it's maybe 2 PM for them. But me, it's like, so she says, well, I'll tell them not to call anymore. Now, was this a good customer satisfaction experience you just had with me? And I said, I won't know until I don't get the calls. So, goodbye.
Well, when you got the call at 2:15 in the morning, when you have to wake up at 4:15 to get down here for your show on Saturday.
Yeah, that was nice. I wake up around 3. And so. Anyway, John Cass, Jay Card, for a lot more to come right here on 89 WLS.
89 WLS.
Echo's talk leader is your common sense election headquarters. 89 WLS.
9:58. John Cass, Jake Hartford. Let's go to Bill in Warrenville. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Yasu, John.
Hey, Yasu.
Hey, John, I wouldn't consider the internet free at Millennium Park when it costs just about 3 times as much to build the park as it was supposed to.
And you forget all about those, remember those pillars under the garage? They were supposed to be 8 bags of cement per pillar, and it turned out to be 6, and they had some problems with the roof. Yeah.
Yep.
Things happen. This is Chicago.
Bill, what trees do you plant?
I'm sorry?
What trees do you plant?
What trees do I plant?
Yes.
That's Richard J. Daley, the first King Not So Long Shanks, as I used to call him. Yeah.
That's it?
How many trees do you plant, Bill?
None. I don't plant any. I pay people to plant them.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bill.
Okay?
Yes.
Hey, listen, keep an eye on John this next week. Don't let him go near any high windows.
Thank you.
They're going to take a real dive.
I'm worried about that, too.
You know, the day they announced they were putting playoff tickets on sale last week, they have not won a game since.
The truth is that before the show, Jake was looking over the playoff ticket situation.
Yeah, they went on sale Friday. And I'm surprised they're not sold out. The first game, which is the wild card game, they have tickets. The other home games they have in the series, I'm just surprised.
We've won it already. We still can't get over 2005. We're still not over it. The shock and awe and the joy.
Anyway, this hour is gone. It's going to the Museum of Broadcast Communication, and they're going to just destroy it. And then we
come after us.
They have one more hour to go. Interesting things about bald eagles and some other stuff right here on 89 WLS.